getting there. Well, I'm going to take a break, tell you guys a story. Because we have been talking about the beginning and what happened in the beginning in Genesis. And Genesis, the word Genesis means beginning. So we've been talking about the beginning, and we talked about like how God created the world and he created people, and it was perfect. Just like this bike was perfect a long time ago. It got broken, and our world got broken. So today we're going to talk about how it got broken. So, Adam and Eve, they're living in the garden, and God gives them a rule. One rule. Because God knows the difference between good and evil. And God is pretty much asking them the question, do you trust me? Do you trust me to tell you what is good and evil? So he gives them one rule to test this. They have to learn. They have to learn to trust God. So he gives them a rule to help them learn this. He says, see all those trees? They're good. Eat from them, but don't eat from that one. There's one tree. You've got all these trees to eat from, but there's one, and it's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Don't eat from it, or you'll die. So one day, they're in the garden, and a serpent comes along. And it said the serpent was a beautiful animal, but this one was crafty. And he said to Eve, did God really tell you you can't eat from any tree in the garden? And Eve said, oh, God said we could eat from all the trees except for that one. And we can't even touch it or we'll die. Now, God never said that about the touching it. Just adding a little bit in. But then the serpent says, you're not gonna die. God knows that if you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you'll know the difference between good and evil. And you'll be like God. And then it says the woman looked at it and saw that it was pleasing to the eye and it looked tasty. So she took one and she took a bite. And then it says she turned and she gave it to her husband who was with her. Adam was there with her. He knew the rule. He didn't try to stop her. And she gave it to him and he ate it too. And it said then they realized that they were naked and they were ashamed and they went and hid. And then God came to the garden like he did. He would come to the garden and he'd come to walk and spend time with them. And he called for them and they were hiding. And Adam, what's going on? Why are you hiding? Did God already know what's going on? So Adam comes and says, it's her fault. He doesn't even take responsibility for his choice. He blames her. And she says, it wasn't my fault. The serpent tricked me. So she doesn't take responsibility for her sin. She blames the serpent. And God says to the serpent, you're cursed. You'll have to crawl on your belly and eat dirt. And one day, a descendant of Adam and Eve will rise up and crush you. And you'll bite his heel. You'll strike his heel and he will crush you. And then he says to Eve, having babies is going to be hard. It's going to hurt. It's going to be hard. And it is. And he says to Adam, because of your choice, work is going to be hard. Now, they were working to take care of the garden. But because of that, we guess that before that, work was fun. It was pleasant. And he said, work's going to be hard. So he has to work hard by the sweat of his brow. He has to toil to grow food. Growing food was hard now. They couldn't just walk up and pick it off the plants in the garden. And then God kicked him out of the garden. He said, you have to leave. You have to leave my garden. And he sent them out into the world. And the world was broken because they sinned. God said, don't eat of that one tree. It's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil because I'm going to tell you what's good and evil. I'm going to teach you. I know, and I'm going to teach you. And to learn, you need to trust me. And you need to follow my rule, my one rule, so that you can learn. And they chose, instead of trusting God, they chose to trust the serpent. And they chose to eat from the tree. And that taught them what good and evil was. But it taught them them through disobeying. It taught them through sin, and it broke the world. They broke the world. Just like the spike is broken, the world's broken. But there's always a connection to Jesus in every Bible story, and here's the connection. When God said to the serpent, one day a descendant, one of Adam and Eve's great, keep going, grandchildren, is going to crush you, and you'll bite his heel. What that means is God was giving them a prophecy, and a prophecy is a truth that's going to happen. It's God's truth that's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it's God's truth that's going to happen. And he told them what that meant about that descendant who's going to come and crush the snake, because the snake, we learn later, was Satan. That descendant was Jesus. And by crushing Satan, it means he's going to defeat sin, because there's a consequence for sin. The consequence is death. God said, don't eat of the tree or you're going to die. And the consequence is death. Sin causes death. Sin causes all the bad things in the world. And Jesus is going to come and he's going to crush Satan. He's going to crush sin. He's going to defeat it. And the serpent, Satan, is going to bite his heel. And that means Jesus' death. But we know that Jesus wasn't conquered by death. Jesus was bigger than death, stronger than death. He chose to die. He was perfect and he rose again. So that little bite on the heel, that was nothing. He crushes sin. He crushes our consequence for sin, which is death, which is awesome. He is awesome. Wow. It's great. It's great that he's got a plan to fix the broken world. Just like I've got a plan to fix this bike, ain't gonna fix itself. So I gotta get back to it, but I want you to leave with this. This is what we learned today. Adam and Eve broke God's law, and their sin separated them from God. But we have that hope. We have that hope because Jesus fixed it. He fixed our sin problem. And one day God is gonna fix this world and make it perfect again. It's gonna be awesome. Well, I don't think I can get the bike perfect, but I'm gonna get it working. I'll see you guys next week.